What's up guys, welcome back to Deck Tech for Decks. I'm your host Caleb. If you want to support me, you can now follow me on Patreon. Not only is it the best way to support the channel, additionally, you'll get more say in what decks I cover. Special shout out to all of you high contributing patrons. Newsome, you rock. Additionally, if you want to help me out, you can always use that TCGplayer link in the description down below, or like, comment, and subscribe. Now, let's get into today's Deck Tech with Alistair. And honestly, this guy turns into 8 mana, win the game very fast. We built him with a lot of very low to the ground legendary creatures that generate incidental value, and then while we're casting those legendaries, we're just generating a massive board state with Alistair. Then, again, once we get to 8 mana, boom, we pop Alistair and win the game. We are running a couple legendaries that enable us to have trample because Alistair doesn't give trample. If he did, that might be a little too broken, but as he is, he's still kind of busted. And then we are running some other stuffs that buff our creatures up, like Tanazir Quandrix. If you stack the triggers correctly, you'll go ahead and trigger Alistair, then trigger Quandrix, and you'll basically get 2 activations of Alistair this way. I mean, more or less. Anyway, your opponents are going to be dead after that, so it's not going to really matter. So if that sounds like a deck tech you want to get into, let's get into it. Let's kick it off by talking about some of the legends we're running. They are somewhat organized. Best is going to be a solid way to buff up our board. Whenever we cast a historic spell, we are going to get one of those 1/1s, and now those 1/1s will make Best bigger, and then whenever Best attacks, she's going to make our 1/1s massive. Kamal Heart of Krosa, another way we can give our creatures trample, while also, again, just buffing our board up. Tanazir Quandrix is also going to be extremely busted. As long as we stack her ability after our commanders, she's going to buff our entire board equal to what our commander already buffed it +4. Just as an example, let's say we have 5 historic permanents on the battlefield, we activate our commander, all of our creatures are going to get +5. That's going to make Tanazir Quandrix a 9/9. Then we can go ahead and use our Tanazir trigger to give all of our creatures base power 9/9, so now they're effectively 18/18s. It's going to be busted. Hero's Podium is another way to make sure all of our creatures are getting that buff because, again, 90% of our creatures in this deck are legendary. Mikaeus the Lunarch, this one's a little slow, but hey, we will take it. It's still going to buff our board up over the course of time, and it's a super cheap legend that comes down early. Kadira, Caller of the Small. This one's going to be busted because it does have trample, so now every time we connect with this girl, we are effectively doubling our board state of tokens. If you can't tell, we've moved on to the token portion of our legends. Queen Elenil will just double up on the tokens we're creating, so that's going to be solid. She doesn't work on our mass token creators, but 9 times out of 10, we're just triggering our commander, which gets us a soldier, which will now get us 2 soldiers, so she's going to be pretty good. Mishra's Self-Replicator, now all we have to do is spend 1 additional mana, we can just start creating token copies of this guy, and then the more token copies there are of him, the more mana we can seek into our Mishra Self-Replicators to create an instant board state that really gets out of hand fast. Azuri Claw of Progress can build up those experience counters very fast. Our commander is constantly throwing 1/1s on the battlefield, and then a lot of our legends do have low power, so it's just going to work perfectly. Derevi is kind of a very budget sort of feast and famine in the deck. We have a lot of low to the ground creatures that can just start untapping our stuff, plus we can start tapping our opponent's stuff down. On the protection side of things, we are running Boromir. Not only does this guy screw a lot of strategies over, additionally we can sacrifice him for a heroic intervention on a stick. K9 Mark 1's going to be solid to give all of our legendaries a little bit of protection while also being able to make some of them unblockable. Skrelv Defector Might, again giving those creatures protection, is going to be solid, and this one can kind of make them unblockable in a way. Moving on to our miscellaneous legends, we are running Miri. She's budget now, and she's going to be amazing in this deck, making it to where we can full swing, and our opponents won't be able to crack back on us. Jamie's just going to get super big and smack people in the face. Old One Eye is going to be solid to give all of our creatures trample. Not to mention, this guy does just add 11 power to the board. Samwise Gamgee is going to be solid recursion in the deck because 90% of this deck is historic. Tashar, same thing. A lot of our creatures and permanents are very low to the ground and historic. Stonecoil Serpent just in here because it has a solid form of protection. It does have reach, trample, and comes down super early. Traxos, I could not make this deck without including this guy. He's massive and I can guarantee he will be responsible for killing someone. Parhelion 2, 100% a Timmy include, but hey, I thought it'd be cool in the deck, so I shoved it in here. The Huntsman's Redemption is just a very budget tutor, so we are going to take that. Ascent from Avernus is going to be amazing in this deck. 90% of our creatures are either 3 or 4 CMC, so casting this for 6 or 7 mana late game will just take all of the creatures in our graveyard and shove them directly onto the battlefield. Moving on to card advantage, I've got more legends for you. We have Edric Spymaster. Now this does work for everybody, so be careful where you use it, but this guy can be incredibly powerful since we are creating a ton of tokens. Toski, Bearer of Secrets, this one's only one-sided and he's a legendary. He's going to be amazing in the deck. I did kind of spring budget-wise for this guy, but he's going to be worth it. Grazilex. Now there's that A player text again, so remember whenever you see that, that's going to work for each opponent. So as long as we can send one creature at each of our opponents, this can net us 3 cards a turn. Elevere. I absolutely love the ability to buff up my creatures while also drawing cards, and this girl does exactly that. Inga and Asika are going to be amazing in this deck. Now we can tap down those tokens to play our legendary cards, and then whenever we're casting those 3 CMC legend cards, we are drawing cards off them. Lonus is going to be a solid way to not only draw some cards, but cheat some creatures into play if we go that route. Legolas is just a solid creature that's going to grow, and whenever you deal combat damage with it, you're going to go ahead and draw a card. Shanna, Purifying Blade. Now you do have to pay for this one, but it does have lifelink, so you are going to be able to draw 3 cards with this girl per turn as long as you've got enough mana to sink into her. Zamone's not only going to be a solid creature to get us to our goal of getting 8 lands on the battlefield or 8 mana in general, she's also going to be solid to draw us cards late game, making sure we can keep the engines rolling. Biden of Thassa, it's legendary. We can force opponents to attack, that way they're wide open for us to attack, and then it's going to draw us a ton of cards. Horn of the Mark, again, legendary, but it wasn't an artifact anyway, so it doesn't matter. But whenever we are attacking with at least 2 creatures, we can dig super deep to grab our key pieces. Ornn Frostfang, now this one's just now reached budget. Definitely not going to stay budget for long, so pick it up while you can. It's incredibly impactful, giving all of your creatures Death Touch. Death Touch and Trample are crazy together, and that can happen in this deck. Additionally, since your 1/1s have Trample now, no shot they're getting blocked, and you're just going to enjoy a lot of cards off of this. So of the Harvest, we are casting a ton of creatures, so this is going to be amazing to keep our engines rolling again. And Reconnaissance Mission, we're going super wide. Whenever we deal combat damage with one of our creatures, we're just going to draw a card. Skull Clamp, we have a lot of 1/1s in the deck, so we can just pay 1 mana to draw 2 cards. I love that. Moving on to ramp, we've got one last legendary creature with Rishkar, Pima, Renegade. Now we can turn those 1/1s into mana dorks. Farseek, Rampant Growth, Nature's Lore are all going to be solid ramp. I like Kodama's Reach and Cultivate here. That way we can guarantee our next land drop. We are trying to get to 8 mana here. We are running all 4 of the Signets. They're super cheap. They ramp us into our commander, and they count as historic spells. We are running all of the talismans for the same exact reason. Additionally, we are running Gilded Lotus, Hedron Archive, Worn Power Stone. That way we have some mana rocks that can produce a ton of mana, getting us to that 8 mana faster. Last but not least, we have our interaction. We have Counterspell, Swords to Plowshare, we have Reclamation Sage to get rid of any of those artifacts, enchantments. Beast Within and Generous Gift can get rid of any permanent that's causing us issues. Then we have our board wipes with Azuri's Predation. This is going to be amazing since we can buff all of those tokens up with our commander. Austere Command is just super flexible. I could see us using this for the 4 and above because we are running a lot of low to the ground creatures. Additionally, we are running Urza's Ruinous Blast, since a ton of the permanents in this deck are legendaries. I was honestly super surprised with how much power this guy has for being a budget deck. That's going to do it for the deck tech. Let me know what you guys think. As always, if you want to help me out, you can not only like, comment, subscribe, but you can also become a Patreon. You'll get more say in what decks I cover, and you'll be helping the channel out, making sure it grows. I would like to take this opportunity to thank all my patrons. I couldn't do it without you guys. I appreciate every one of you. As always, I hope this helped you in your deck building endeavors, and I will see you in the next one.